بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Fantastic. Okay, guys. My original suggestion, this discussion started earlier this afternoon when on GeoTV a rape case was being discussed, and they were actually showing the victim's picture, a mugshot, and the victim who had been raped and killed was about, I think, 7, 8 years old young girl, and they were showing how the family was mourning, and they were actually showing the girl's picture. So I tweeted saying that, is it that we love sexual violence because we live our perverted fantasies through news? And our friend Norbert said, so it seems, and the discussion thus started, and I realized both India, I don't know about India, but Pakistan definitely, is doing a lot of these reenactment shows where they're reenacting crimes. And these shows have recently become very, very popular. So thus the discussion started that are we at some level living our really sexually perverted fantasies through news and things like that. That's where I suggested. I'm hereby opening the floor.
Shall we start?
Yeah, please.
Should I start?
Yes, Jandos, please go ahead. I'm sure you've done your bloody research.
No, I couldn't get much time, but a small piece and from different places. So, okay, you just spoke about that piece of news, but before that, I would like to start with the definition of what we call as a violence, okay? Because once we start talking about violence, then we can proceed further about types and forms of violence and why is it happening and why is it becoming so much popular in our TV shows or even in journal discussions. Okay, so I did a very quick research, okay, and gathered some pieces from different parts. So it says that violence is an extreme form of aggression or use of power and threatening against a person or a community by another person or another community. Okay, so this is very, general form of saying violence. Okay, but if you talk about forms of violence, okay, it has two dimensions. One dimension is that what do we classify as a violence? We can call them assaults, harm, threatening to kill, theft, sexual violence, as you said. We have a partner violence, okay, which can be psychological or physical, and even stalking and harassment. That is also a form of violence. So this is in one dimension. Now, in another dimension, we are talking about violence at different levels. Let's say we are having a self-inflicted violence, that, like, for example, I'm going and killing somebody else, okay, or killing myself. Sorry, it is self-inflicted means that I'm killing myself or I'm hurting myself. And then we are having a interpersonal violence that, for example, parents beat their children, or, for example, even children, they beat their parents or partner together. Then we are having a kind of collective violence that in society, some group of people kill other people or they assault them or harass them. Now, statically, if we are talking about these kind of violences, okay, if we are talking about homicide or killing, that is mainly, if you talk about statistical figure, you can find those kind of...
Jandos, hang on. My point, Jandos, is that, regardless of how we define violence, we, in our part of the world, we don't seem to be condemning public display of violence. We have various cases like India, day before yesterday, I think 4 days ago. This dude did not come to his job, so he got his ears off. And that news kept running continuously. I was watching the Indian TV. And then in Pakistan, we get these really graphic details in news of how the crime was conducted, how there was violence, how someone was raped. And we just get this deep extremely graphic details. Why, as consumers of news, we do not feel uncomfortable with such graphic detail of a crime, which is, I mean, the details are necessary. Doesn't matter how a 5-year-old was raped and then how, you know, she was gang raped or how then the body was burned. The thing is, it's a heinous crime, heinous crime, and we should just stick to that. So
I was coming to the same point.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, Faisal, where did these crimes happen, these children? I'm sorry, I'm not aware. Is it in Pakistan?
Pakistan, India, and let's not forget in the whole world, frankly.
No, but were they showing these on Pakistan television?
Yes, Pakistan and Indian television, yeah.
Okay.
I think
Please.
I think the point that Faisal is trying to make here is that apart from the violence that happens, I mean, let's not even touch it how horrible it is. The point he's trying to make is why do the rest of the people watch it with such graphic and watch it in such graphic details? Do they get a vicarious pleasure out of it? I think to begin with, I'm sure there must be some laws which prohibit showing such things, like even showing a dead body, even showing a burned victim. There has to be. I'm sure there is a law which it is not, which they don't apply the TV channels. But in fact, recently the Supreme Court had to. Block it. There is something called Crime Patrol on Sony TV, and Supreme Court had to ban they were going to show the rape, the Delhi gang rape, something like that, and they had to tell them not to do it. So what is it about the people who want to see it? That is sick. That is something. I mean, one person has done something bad, and then like 10 more people want to talk about it, 10 more people, 20 more people want to see it, and then feel good about it. What?
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm going to add one more thing before you guys take it. Now talking about it, I'm thinking Indian and Pakistani cinema has always been very graphic with violence, in particular rape or sexual violence. Western media would give it an X rating, or if graphic details of a rape were shown in an American movie, it'll get at least an R18, if not an X rating. But we actually show pretty much X-rated violence content in Indian and Pakistani cinema since the 60s, 70s, 80s, and that has been quite the norm.
You know, I was about to mention this point because if you see all the Bollywood and the Lollywood movies, and if you look at the media content, you look at the the sitcoms and these dramas and series, they're all surrounded or they involve stories about some rape issue within a family, or a girl stepping out of the house who gets raped. And even today on news, I was watching this another breaking news about this rape incident and a female who was killed, and her name was being flashed. And I guess that's. But when we question media about showing such content, I guess the only argument they come up with is that they're trying to educate and create awareness within amongst the people as to what is happening around them. But what they do not realize is the privacy of those individuals who are actually involved in that cases. And what they go through, and how they're questioned by the society, because nobody actually comes up and gives them some comfort. But yes, they do become the talk of the town, and that's what media does not realize.
If you're talking about media, so I mean, what I see is that it's a question of demand. It's not question of regulations. It's not question of other things. If you're talking about Bollywood and Lollywood, if you ask me, I will say that there is a demand. That's why they are producing such content.
So what you're saying, those is that we want to watch these graphic rapes and murders.
No, honestly, we do enjoy those looking into the movies. Like we do remember such rape cases being shown in movies. If we didn't, we wouldn't watch it.
So basically, we are closet psychopaths.
No, I mean we might be.
Can I say something here?
Yes.
Yes. Ali, hang on. Ali, you were trying to say something. Go on.
Yeah, I wanted to say, I think the reason because our Pakistani Indian subcontinent society, we are so obsessed with sex because since we're born, everybody tries to demonize sex because any kind of sex other than reproducing is bad. So when any kind of sex is bad, people, it's a natural human reaction where people want to talk about it and do something regarding sex because it turns into some kind of a power. It gives them high like a drug. So I think that's the reason they would like to take it out, whether through media, whether violence, whether actually, acting on the thing.
So we are closet psychopaths.
Well, yeah, but then
Earlier, there was.
Go on.
I think in the movies, at least, it started off with because there was a lot of there's still a lot of censorship, but earlier there was more. So it was a bit of it was a sneaky, clever way of bringing in the sex. But as for the
why is sneaky clever for bringing in sex? If people
whatever, like it's distillation. I don't know how else.
How can people sit and watch this extreme, vulgar violence?
There's a modesty kind of. No, it's like this. If you want to show sex, and at the same time you want to be moralistic about it, so you will show it, but you will show it in a way that it's wrong, it's bad, and whatever. And so the rape fits in with that category. And now I think it's a bit different.
We, the watchers, are psychopaths.
No, but you see, with time, we see more cases of rape being shown on media, be it anywhere in the world. With time, they're not reducing, but in fact increasing. And why is that? Is it bad because of the sexual frustration that we're surrounded with? Or is it the limitations? Or is it not talking about this particular topic or having discussions over it? What would you consider it?
I don't remember the last time Hollywood showed a rape. The last rapes I remember were in the 80s.
I think it is purely because of human nature or anything. There's nothing else to do with that. If you think about it, like if there's an accident on the road, everybody wants to have a look at that. Because as humans, it's the inquisitiveness that we really want to see what's going on, whether it be a tragedy, violence, or a disaster. We as humans are, with the intriguing nature that we have, which is built in. And I think in our countries, like in the subcontinent especially, I know the West also, Hollywood has been producing movies like that as well, where they've gone really over the top.
Yeah, but Nadeem, they get rated.
Yeah.
Hollywood movie or a British movie is gonna get rated. It'll be rated R18 or X or
It will be, but because it's human nature, and I think in our country, because the lack of regulations, A, there's a lack of regulation, and B, because generally the masses over here in these subcontinent, they're suppressed, and this is I think violence develops from the suppression.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to open one more question to you. How are we suppressed? I don't even know how we're suppressed. We use that as an excuse. What suppression? We are out of control, man. Where's the suppression?
It's frustration.
Rating.
That out of control thing is coming from somewhere because we are suppressed.
Ratings drive down ticket sales. If any movie is given an adult ratings, X number of people are not going to see it, and then there are more people, and in that PR rating, whatever category you call it. So not having rating is good for the movie business.
But sorry, I'm cutting you. But the question is not about sales. Let's say that if you are
it all comes down to that. It is a sales-driven business.
You see that number of downloaded movies of that X-rated would be much more than normal, you say, PG movie.
I'm talking about cinema. I'm talking about movie halls.
Okay, if we talk about movies, let's face it, movies are all fantasies. They're built on fantasies. They're not like based on true stories. Most of them, they're not based on true stories. But in general, if you look at the people over here in the subcontinent, in general, people do like to have a look at violence. They do like
Okay, but isn't it about value and ethics then?
Sorry?
Isn't it about value and ethics? The fact that even on the Twitter timelines of the subcontinent, we take major pleasure in cracking sick jokes about sex and violence shows the attitude of many people in the subcontinent.
That's true. That's very true.
Yes.
I agree.
Including you yourself made if I may remind you, a pretty cheap joke today on Google Plus when Faisal sent out the message. Sorry to say that, but I had to point that out.
Are we about to have a political talk show here?
Well, I'm just pointing out something which is valid even in our Google Hangout today.
Okay. Nadeem, you're the accused one.
I'm trying to remember which post was that.
Your every post is out of control, man.
I'll check it out.
No, but Lalita, my point, I think you're getting my point. We don't even cringe when we see severe violence, when we see atrocities, when we see someone being beaten up. It doesn't even hurt us. It doesn't hurt our soul. We just watch it like, yeah, let me have a cup of tea, and oh, she got raped. 8 people beat her up. Going as far back as, remember Roti Kapda Makan wala rape scene?
I don't, because I haven't watched it, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
People who derive pleasure watch it.
Well, I saw the movie, but that didn't mean I derive pleasure. I'm hurting. That's why I'm doing this show, woman.
That's rubbish. People who have an objection to it, I believe, will immediately stop watching it.
Can I just make a comment, please?
Please, go on.
Okay, I have to agree with, I agree with a lot of points, but one major point is that I have seen my share of Indian movies, and I've watched Indian movies, and I watch a lot of Hollywood movies as well. And comparatively, there's more violence against women in the Indian movies. I have seen, you have rape in nearly every other Indian movie. It's just part of the script. There's more work with things. I mean, in the past, it used to, there's always like a rape in a lot of the movies.
Not now.
Now, I agree with you. It's reduced now. I mean, and that's a very positive move. But it was quite prevalent in a lot of the old movies, like the Roti Kapda Makan. And now Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, they have a different storyline, and they're touching on other norms. So anyway, but moving on from that, there is violence shown in the movie, but it's in the English movies as well. You watch a Tarantino movie, watch a Kill Bill, they're slashing people to bits. However, like you made a point, it's rated. There are regulations. Here as well, you have rape in the West, you have rape everywhere. You have child deaths here as well. There was a father who raped his child in Sweden. You have these news, and it was on BBC, and I read it myself in detail. Why am I like having some sort of a high by reading it? No, I think we need to be made aware of these things, because so we know what's happening in society, and there are delinquents, and people need to control this sort of behavior. But number two, yes, it's regulations. In the United Kingdom and these countries, they regulate the news. They will tell you if there's something offensive, and there are lots of rules and regulations. They can't share the identity. You don't have these rules and regulations in Pakistan at the moment. And I don't know for India, I think it's a developing thing, but you don't have it. And just a last point on Twitter, Amitabh Bachchan's Twitter tweet was that they're looking at, they were actually debating banning slapping and violence in movies. Even slapping a woman was being questioned in Indian movies, because after the Delhi rape crime. So, these things, people are mooting these things because we don't know what is driving this violence. But hey, we're humans. We're a violent society. We need controls and checks.
A little bit of violence.
I think Asian people are a special breed when it comes to violence. And when I say Asian, I'm expanding the borders. Like what the Japanese did to the Chinese was, it was really disgusting. So it's not just India, Pakistan. Asia has some sick love for extreme violence. But with that said, I'm going to come back to India, Pakistan. I also feel like Muslims. Again, I'm saying something risky. People have always told me not to comment on this. But every Bakra Eid, we desensitize our children to see goats being slaughtered, and I know it's part of our Islamic thing, but I find that very discomforting at a personal level, because we just get desensitized about it. and then we have no control, no rating of on our television, on our film, and as children, we consume this content. I mean, today on our television, we've got all these Bhoot Bangla stories, and they're running at like 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. What the hell is that? So children watching that in 20 years from today will be completely desensitized to these things. All these crime reenactments should be 11 o'clock or a midnight show, but they're running at 7 o'clock, which is prime time, prime family time. So we are injecting this content into kids, and in the coming years, as they grow up, they will not cringe. My question has always been, when you hear about extreme violence, you should just go like, oh my God, it doesn't. We just watch it like, oh really? So, oh, there were 6 people who raped, there was a steel rod. Oh, that's so bad. It should just hurt us. When we hear it, we should cringe. We should go like, oh my God. But that doesn't happen to us, and that's my problem.
Look, Faisal, can I just make another, once you are exposed to a lot of the same thing, we become desensitized. When they had bombs blowing up in Iraq and 10 people died, 20, we were all interested. Now people are blowing up, and where like we read it, it's third-page news, sensitized. It's just human nature. Rape should never be a topic where we become desensitized. That's definitely not. But I think we need to look at the victims. Do they have any recourse to help? Is the law on their side? What's happening to these victims, and what's being done to actually stop this? But it will always be on television. If a heinous crime is committed, I would actually want to know, because I think you can't, making things taboo, which is so normal in Pakistan and Asia anyway, is just the wrong approach. You need to know about it. But then, like you say, you need to protect the privacy. There need to be regulations. We're a long way off from there, but I don't know, maybe we'll get there soon.
I think the point that you made about privacy, that is very important, because I think maybe it is human nature that we desensitize ourselves to deal with it. Because if it's something which is day in and day out, you need to go on with, you need to keep your sanity. So probably part of it desensitizes ourselves deliberately, I guess, by not either reading about it or blocking our minds to it. But at the same time, certain regulations have to be in place to protect the privacy of individuals. Like the other day, I read about an Adivasi woman who they had this some kind of a protest in Assam, and this woman was molested, not me or anybody, but by the local people there. And the name of the woman, it was caught on camera, it was shown on CNN, IBN, and then there's this YouTube video about it, and that woman, that she was a student, and now she can never work because she says, wherever I go to get work, people make fun of me. What was that? Those people were just hitting her, and why did she need to be? Why did her name need to be there? Why did they not blank out her face? It made no sense.
Nita, you're awful quiet. You want to add to it? Nita can't hear me.
What's the problem?
Okay, I'm gonna add on to it. My point here is that when we take things as okay and uncontrolled, we watch them slowly. Like Sobia said, we get desensitized, and then we don't give it any credence. We don't give it any value. I'm going to improve our video with me and Ayesha, where we were saying how the government have slapped the nation. So she was portraying the nation, and I was the Hukuma, and I slapped Ayesha. And it became a major, Lalita was screaming and cussing at me, and all kinds of people were saying bad things to me. Yeah, Lalita, don't look at me like that. And people were complaining that how could I...
You don't want to start me off on that.
That how could I be so careless, and how could I hit a woman?
No, but let me make a point right there. You said that portrayed, hang on a second, you said that portrayed you know, a nation versus, and if it was a man, if it was a woman slapping a woman, would it be okay? So our nations are getting raped every day. Why don't you portray that as well? This is exactly my point.
It was a government thing.
No. People think in that form. Women and men think like that, and then you yourself question this? Give me a break.
You know what? I still stand by that slap because that slap portrayed the nation. But, before you go on again, hold on to your horse, Larita. But, yes, I also agree with you that we are desensitized to such a thing. Maybe in another culture, that slap would have been absolutely not acceptable. And over here, there was a, 70-30 people, 30% said don't agree, 70% people said it's all right. So that is a disturbing statistic. So I'm going to use that to my advantage in this discussion. Yes, we are okay to such violence. We are okay to see blood and gore. We are okay to have blood flowing on the streets of our cities on Eid. We are perfectly all right with guts lying in front of our houses after Eid. We let children see that. And if children see that, they get completely desensitized.
Are you talking
as they grow up,
Can I add something, please?
Faisal, were you talking about Bakra Eid?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? The guts lying around? Are we talking about the animals? Okay.
Guts and blood and goats being cut and camels being pinned down and,
Yeah, but I just want to say on that point.
Describing it in such vivid detail, please.
Can I make a point? Faisal, if you can hear me eventually.
Yes, Nita, you can.
There are a couple of points. I've been hearing about regulation. Now, there are quite a few regulations in place here. There are Supreme Court orders, very strictly now, at least in the metros, it's being followed. You cannot show the photo and reveal the name, especially of minor girl victims, and even if they are adults, try and avoid showing their faces. Where the regulation of television is concerned, again, I know for a fact that in Bombay High Court, a professor, Pratibha Nathani, had been relentlessly fighting and raising this very point that do not show adult content during the evening time till the kids are awake. It created such a furor. I know of citizens, including women, getting upset that why is she so interfering. She's a professor, and I think that was a very valid point she had raised. In Indian media, we have a national network for women journalists, and I know for a fact that what try and do as far as possible is all the officials, women officials within these metros, what they are trying to do is regulate the content. So if anyone has, and we've seen this time and again that certain tabloids, newspapers and television, they've tried to, for this whole TRP and readership rush, they've tried to publish the photos and the details, and they've been taken to task. Letters, not only letters have gone, they have also tried and focus it through other newspapers, and they've also tried to bring it across to the court. The last point being about, are we psychopaths? What are we? I think let's just admit, whether it is movies, whether it is life, there's too much of violence today, and we all are getting hardened. If 26/11, when it occurred that night, please let me tell you, my own neighbor was out there trying to see what had happened. When the gunshots were fired, except for the police and us media, there was nobody around. But everyone is now getting very excited by the terror tourism, which is happening everywhere across the world.
Okay, so people are getting thrills out of it.
Sorry?
So people are getting thrills out of it.
Of course. See, you raised the point of those ghost stories and those ghost series. Look at AXN, look at Z Cafe. They all are showing this.
Nina, is it something?
God knows what all crime shows are there. Sorry, tell me.
Is it something to do with how one copes with things like this? Is it the
Yes.
human nature that something which is so extreme, like sometimes instead of crying we laugh, if that is in a situation which is very scary or something, you have to deal with it, like your mind has to deal with it. So do we do that out of a desire to save our sanity, or do we do it out of some other perverse desire? Maybe there are both
Can I
kinds of
answer this
people.
question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I was just reading an article from a doctor in US. Actually, what he was saying is that in case of media, people watch this violent news, violent movies, or violent content because they are lacking kind of excitement in their lives. So what happens that I'm coming from office and I had a very boring day, so called, and when I start watching TV, I see somebody's killing somebody else. Okay, so it creates a kind of excitement inside me. Okay, and what happens after that? Media and other channels also start fueling this excitement. Okay, by adding more and more content. After some point of time, what happens that you become numb to this kind of content. This is the point that Faisal was talking about, is that, for example, if continuously I start watching such kind of news, contents, and movies, okay, I become so numb and desensitized about those issues, okay? And then, I mean, it's a question of egg and chicken. You start seeing this content, and after some time, you become so habitual, okay? And it's like a kind of addiction. Okay, so if you don't see any kind of news one day in the TV, you will feel bored, and you say that, okay, there was nothing on TV today because nobody was killed and nobody was raped. And media, same time, we spoke about the regulations. There are regulations, okay, but I don't see them being implemented as strictly, let's say, like Europe or some other parts of the world. If you are talking about Asia, there may be some regulations, but I don't see them being implemented. And media and channels, they are using this kind of numbness, okay, to produce reactments, and as Faisal was saying, displaying them or showing them at 7 o'clock in the evening.
Gulna,
Yeah.
taking ahead of your point, what you said, is it numbness? And I think it's also to do with the kind of societies India and Pakistan have.
Yes, yes.
We are
On top of
not
that,
completely heterogeneous and subcaste, and we have so many illiterate people, uneducated. See, television plays a very, very prominent role in our societies because people see TV, we don't hear TV. So often we may be getting distressed, but the fact is that they are seeing all this because the pictures are speaking louder than the words. People can't read, and at least I have seen this in India more and more, and it's coming to your doorstep, it's coming to your living room. So, and where the question of, bombarding it, yes, we have TRPs, we have the readership. At the same time, I think somewhere we do not have the caliber that is in the West of dealing with situation. Everyday bombings, they become part of our lives. Every day, these kind of violence has become a part of our lives. There is no psychiatric help, there is no psychological help, there's no societal help.
Right.
And we just say, okay, get on with life, chalo. Aage badho. Next day, next bombing, next rape. That's how hardened we have become.
You know, it's actually also because of the exposure that we have had to such content, and we know that it's easy for us to get away with it because there are no laws and regulations, and you know how the setup is here. You don't really get caught. So I guess it's the exposure which makes us think that it's okay, it's acceptable. You know, it's happening so much, so it's all right, and we can get away with it.
Can I just take a point there? I can't agree with that. I don't agree that all of a sudden we've now become a more violent society and people are raping their little girls and we're finding out about it now. I think this has always been part of life, like natural disasters. You know, there was a tsunami, we all were watching the tsunami kill these people. However, I think, but in the olden times, you had earthquakes and you had volcanoes which also swept villages away. The thing is, because of technology, we are more aware of what's going on. If you can tell me that in the villages which are not exposed to television, if there is no sexual crimes committed there, there's no violence, then I believe that, okay, maybe that's the protection they're getting. But I don't believe that. I just think that in the olden times we did not have media, we were not connected, we did not find out. What has happened now is that all of these things, we are now finding out about them. If something happens, it's news. Yes, it makes news and is sensationalist, and we all abhor it, but we're watching. I think in a way it's good for us to watch, because we need to know what's going on. It's always been happening. Violence against women, abuse has always been there. Child abuse has always been there. It's now more in the forefront because now the news channels are showing it. Otherwise, in our countries, it's taboo. We don't know what's going on. People don't talk about it. So I think we're just more aware of it now, and we're sort of now thinking, hey, it's really coming out and it's really uncomfortable. But I'm sorry, I think the levels of rapes, have they just suddenly increased? I don't think so.
Let me interject here. So yeah, watching and being aware is fantastic. Making your children watch it, so they become completely, I'm not even using the word desensitized, they become complete jerks when they grow up. That is another thing, one. Secondly, TRPs as a great indicator of, there's nothing wrong with TRPs. I'm in media, Nita understands this. TRPs are, we have Ayesha here as well, Ayesha Jabeen, who's also linked to media. TRPs are fantastic, they tell us what people like. And if these shows are getting high ratings, it proves my point. We are bloody psychopaths who live our sexual depraved fantasies through this content. We love watching it because at some level we're going like, yeah, we're getting turned on by it. Excuse my French.
I would like to say something purely just about violence. I think violence is built in. I mean, if you look at violence, it's since you're kids. I mean, look at all the superheroes, the comic books and everything that we have read. That is, they were purely violent only because it wasn't on paper. Like, we didn't realize that at that time, and that goes and sets into your mind. And then on top of that, I mean, okay, in countries where there are regulations, look at WWF. I mean, that is contact sport, any contact sport. WWF, that is the most popular the game show or the sports show amongst the kids. I mean, they have the largest following from the kids. So, I mean, what does that portray? That's pure violence, isn't it?
I think there is a good violence and a bad violence. In a movie like Kill Bill, Uma Thurman is the protagonist and she's the killer, but she is shown from a position of strength. On the other hand, I have talked to women of a certain class in India where being beaten up, slapped around by the husband is considered considered nice, okay, whatever. There is not only an acceptability, there is a desirability to that. So
desirability?
both of us, yeah,
No, I think it's more of they have no choice. Like,
probably. No. एक तो वो वाला violence हो गया, adjust करना.
Desirability.
Lalita, no, I'm not, it's not something I am saying. It is something said to me by a person who said that it was okay. I'm not, who am I to judge what she likes or what she doesn't like? What the point I'm making is she did not mind being beaten. She actually welcomed it. So anyhow, that is
what's happening is in the name of a couple of points that Sobia and Nita mentioned. In terms of this whole TRPs and the need for awareness. I mean, awareness is good, but I think in this whole social media that's ruling our lives, on Twitter, Facebook, Google Plus, whatever, right? We all want to be known. We all want to be getting more followers. We all want to, rather not we all, let me not generalize. Most people want to be seen in the, that they care for violence against women, they care for human rights. And, I mean, it was shocking to see with the Hyderabad bombing NDTV was actually requesting, if you have any photographs, please send to us. I mean, how mundane is that? And there were people who were tweeting rubbish on
every
blast. Every
time.
blast.
They do it every time.
No, no, I agree. They do it every time. I agree with that.
So
and I
much
think that is
pressure.
disastrous.
Of course.
I'd like to add something.
The thing is, there were so many people who were actually tweeting rubbish. People who have 30,000, 40,000 followers, who have regular conversations, and who I thought were sane people, tweeting rumors and rubbish on these kind of situations. I have no idea. And to me, that shows they just are desperate to get attention in the wrong way. It is about insecurity. It's about lack of values, lack of ethics, and lack of just being a proper human being. That's all it shows to me.
Ayesha, you were going to say something? Ayesha,
I'd like to add something here. I feel that we live in a society where, especially here in this part of the world, Pakistan, India, and the subcontinent, I just feel we do not have our boundaries defined. That's the main issue. When you don't have boundaries defined, it's very easy to cross those boundaries. Now, where does it all boil down to? We don't have boundaries defined at home, since we don't say no to violence at home, and we do not know. A child grows up seeing his dad beat up his mom. So, you know, here, when you know that it's okay to violate somebody like that, you grow up to either be immune to that or just think, okay, this is all right. Similarly, channels do not have boundaries too, because they are now working in a society where there are no boundaries. So, for example, in Pakistan, I'd like to add, you know, that like one of your guests just mentioned, it's okay to there is some good violence and there's some bad violence. I'd just like to add that we have constant reminders of violence. We don't have PG, we don't have ratings, we don't have an audience defined as to, all right, this program is not suitable. We don't have disclaimers running. So parents also tend to be very casual about these things and are very jealous also. What else? I see tiny like mini bomb blast, I don't know, graphics running all the time, or you see a plane crashing all the time. It might not occur to many people, but this is being embedded in how you are seeing things, and then you're all right with those things. So it's okay to say, you know, somebody hijack a plane and then that being crashed, or it's okay for there to be a bomb and killing so many people at once, because you see those tiny graphics running all the time. And as another lady just mentioned, if I remember, CNN runs an iReport. And CNN is always telling you, if you've seen something, send us videos, send us pictures, and they have CNN backstory running. So channels do ask people now to send in, you know, things if they've seen it, but they tend to run disclaimers and they tend to tell their audience and educate them that it's not okay for your children or people of certain age or people suffering from, say, certain heart disease or other issues to watch this. So those boundaries are not defined. They need to be defined.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one more thing. It's very common if there is a cuss word or a bad word, a profanity on television, parents would jump. Educated middle-class parents go, oh my God, there was an M word or an F word, and we can't let, please don't say that in front of children. But when it comes to violence, nobody jumps at like, it's all right, a woman's being raped, or there's a bomb or whatever. Nobody jumps at that, which basically, again, I'm going to come back to my original point. We as parents, we as the older generation, as the smarter media, I mean, I can sit on my talk show and I can talk as much graphic violence as I want. I can just not say the F word. I can't say anything. I can't say anything obscene. I cannot use a cuss word, but I can detail as much violence as I want, and no parent, no censor board, no regulatory authority, no citizen would ever complain. They might actually say, pretty good, you were giving us great detail, and they'll be all right. So if a cuss word is not acceptable for a child, why is severe violence completely acceptable for a child? Because, again, my point, deep down, we're bad people. We enjoy violence. We get turned on by it. We live our fantasies to watching other people beat other people or rape other people.
Maybe violence makes you feel powerful?
Oh,
Maybe
come on.
that's how. No,
Come on.
I'm just trying to say maybe that is what people, you like to do things which make you feel good or powerful or whatever. So maybe seeing somebody violent, seeing their hero being violent, or doing something violent makes them feel more macho, more stronger, more powerful as compared to the next guy.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question to all, because we're all mature adults here. I am not, disclaimer, I'm not endorsing porn. I am not saying that you should have watched it. I am against porn. It's a bad thing. But I'm gonna ask you all a question. Has anyone seen Japanese porn?
Why is porn bad? I can understand child porn is bad. How can you say
You're talking about
bad?
anime, person?
No, I'm talking about Japanese adult content, pornography
About
of Japanese origin.
Violence, that tying up and all that, beating up.
Not exactly. It's disgusting and gross, but it's okay for that society.
No, it's okay for you to buy toy guns for your kids. It's all right to let your kids play PS3 games which involve killing, which involve guns, which involves bombing. So I guess parents are pretty much okay with exposing their kids with violence.
Very good point.
Yeah.
Excellent, Ayesha.
I would also like to talk about, we're talking about shows and PGs, but have you ever noticed about all these cartoons which they are on TV? Have you noticed the cartoons like Powerpuff Girls? There is a large amount of scenes which are so subliminal messages, they are absolutely pathetic. They're promoting, if I could say it on TV, I don't know if I can, they're like kind of promoting blowjobs on Powerpuff Girls, and there are weird things.
I've heard so. Yes, I've heard.
Well, then we could always talk about Tom and Jerry, and how Tom and Jerry had racism, and then how Tom and Jerry, which seems like such a sweet little thing, and everybody together watches it as a family. There are these two characters who beat each other up, and the sad part is when they beat each other up, they're okay the next second. So what you're telling your kid is, it's okay if you beat somebody up, they're going to be okay. It doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
They don't die.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Itchy and Scratchy show.
Oh no, and even if I've observed with kids that if they're pissed off, if they don't agree with you over a certain thing, they would just take out their toy guns and point it towards you and say, I'm going to shoot you. So that is kind of exposing them with all these violence, and the parents never say, no, don't do it, it's wrong. We're just, they enjoy it. They say, oh, look at the kid. Oh my God, he's a boy. That's why, he's going to grow up. He has a men, thinking and mindset, and they never stop it. So yes, why should we here sit down and complain about exposing our kids with violence? Because that's what we see around all the time.
See, this all boils down to the fact that we are a very patriarchal society on the subcontinent, and there are very few non-patriarchal societies. So this whole concept of it's okay to be beaten by a man, to report it. I mean, when we are talking of rapes, time and again on Twitter, I asked everybody, of all those women also who have gone to Jantar Mantar to protest, the housewives, how many protest in their own personal lives about marital rape? Why can't a woman say no? Why is it that a sex worker, when she says no, the women including do not believe that she can say no? Why? A sex worker doesn't have rights, a housewife doesn't have rights, but that's the way the whole society sees, and that's how women have been groomed. So this whole thing of what Ayesha also said was about the space, about boundaries. People just think it's so easy to encroach on my body space, touch, go, eat. This is how casually we've been groomed and brought up. It's now that at least some reportage is taking place, people can go to the police stations, but I don't think it's still as much as what we desire.
Also, I'd like to add another thing. I
Most
remember
of the rapes that do.
Sorry.
No, I was just elaborating on what Neeta said. Most of the rapes that take place are taken place by the rapists are usually known to the victims, either family members or family friends or whatever. So the situation in such cases, nobody talks about it. It's all hushed up. Forget any kind of protest or lodging a police complaint. It is the victim won't even speak about it. And maybe now, because people are living in more nuclear families, the community, the kind of cohesion which was there in the community, that is sort of coming apart now. So probably it's much easier to go and speak about it. And in a way, it's a good thing, I guess. It has its negatives, but it's a good thing too.
So just 2-3 points on that. One, I totally agree with you. It's actually really frightening when something terrible happens. There's, who do these women go to if you're raped within your family? It's a very taboo and difficult thing for a woman actually to want to talk about it and then actually go out and seek any help. These are difficult questions. I don't think they've been solved. Number two, a point that Faisal mentioned, and I think it's quite true that even Bakra Eid and slaughtering of animals in front of children and just the gory, if you just watch that, it's quite disturbing. And I just think violence shown to children in any form, violence against animals, I know it's part of religion, but I think we can leave religion aside. You don't need to expose your children to blood and such things, in my personal opinion. Another thing I think is these videos that you have, these violent videos that you have for boys. I once got a 13 video for my niece and we had to return it. It was Superman or something, and it was so gory. It had blood that my niece was just like horrified, and it was just rated 13. So it was horribly violent. So in our society, I think we're sort of normalizing violence with these really terrible video games and lots of events that are going on. So these are quite difficult things. I think we need to ensure that there are authorities and people that one can go to if this happens, but it's probably more likely to happen in the West. We do have healthcare, but it's rare.
I think Shubhi got lost. Ayesha, we're going to say something.
Yeah.
Go on, Ayesha. Ayesha, Jameen.
Yes. I just wanted to say that I remember, I'm putting this forward to all of you. Maybe human nature is inherently violent. I remember reading a book growing up, Lord of the Flies by William Golding, in which there's an aeroplane and he shows all these kids, really not even teenagers, crashing up on an island and just being violent without any adult supervision to animals, to each other. And Golding explores the human psyche through that book, telling us that maybe we inherently are animals and we are violent. And then there's another thing that comes to mind. Sometimes I think, all right, what if all those characters, because all the children in that book that he talks about, they're all male. What if they were girls? Are girls inherently violent too? Can they be violent if they're together with girls? Or is this just a man thing? Is it just testosterone? That's what I wanted to know.
Women are very violent.
Can I add something? I think
you must see Amor, all of you. If you get a chance, please see the movie.
Which one?
Please see it. Amor.
Which one?
It is the
Amor. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Don't miss it. Yes. And
I had
violence, please see it.
There was I read a report about this these elephants in some I think it was Africa, wherever. So they had taken away all the adult elephants, and the teenage elephants, they didn't have they didn't know how to behave. The aggression, they were so aggressive. They went around on a rampage. And so to teach these elephants how to behave, they got some older elephants, and soon enough, the teenage elephants learned how to behave. Maybe the violence of the kids, their own dad. It's not just the physical act; it's the way people speak. It's so much rest. Some people can really shoot just by the amount of anger which is in them. There are so many road. Yeah, of course.
Yes, see, I think we are losing the point over here. I think we are talking violence in journal, which sometimes can be good, okay, in terms of if you want to defend your own yourself or your own community, that could be good. So that is one thing. I think the original discussion was started for sexual violence and excessive use of adult content on TV. So frankly speaking, I mean, from my point of view, I don't see that, for example, having the cartoons with gun, or for example, boys playing with guns would create that kind of problem. But yes, showing victims of rape, or for example, such kind of content repetitively, okay, on daily basis, and letting our children and kids watch those content, that is, I think, something very harmful.
Well, I'm going to add here slightly, very quickly, that Ayesha mentioned, I think Gulnaz mentioned about how people even talk aggressively. If you look at our talk shows, Pakistani current affairs talk shows, even Indian current affairs talk shows, like I've just seen Arnab's show repeatedly, the way we talk and leave the politicians alone. Politicians are politicians. The way the anchors talk, I can only imagine what kind of brutal trauma children get by watching that.
And even newscasters, I mean, for example, if there is a bomb blast, the way they are happy to show or give that news and broadcast that news, I mean, I see the happiness and, I mean, joy in their face. I mean, like a breaking news, and I'm announcing news, and keep repeatedly saying that. I mean, I mean, as an adult, I feel like going and killing them. So I don't know how children and
hey, that was violence, okay? You cannot look like that.
It's a good violence.
It is a fiercely competitive field. So let's get something very, very clear. If you want somebody to do well and the editors to appreciate, the whole revolutionary change has to come in a mindset and in this field. You cannot expect. I've been on the other side, and I know how they. Sorry to say this, but the editors fuck your mind. They make you behave like they own you. It's so easy to sit here and say that what they're doing. Imagine you are doing something and you get a breakthrough. That's what they do. I know it's wrong, but that's what they've been drilled to doing. And there needs to be a tremendous change and an evolution. A change that we are not emphasized anymore as a medium, you know, and I somehow don't see that happening, because even the editors and newscasters are shouting on me.
But Nita,
like,
there is an issue here.
I need to take this. Nita, I agree with you partially. A young newsreader, maybe a field reporter, can be driven by the director or the editor. But you know what? I've done this 7.5 years now. No director, producer can force me to talk a certain way. I completely control my terms, how I speak, how I'm going to do it. And, you know, senior anchors, senior journalists who have great ratings, great standings, no one drives them. I will not take any names on my side because most of them are friends, and I don't want to upset them, so I'll take the names of the inside. I mean, Barkha talks very well. How come nobody drives Barkha to scream like a banshee? But Arnab speaks like he's PMSing and he's going to just, you know, something just bad about to happen to him.
I agree, but, you know, it's easy for you and me to say, I have used my own terms and conditions, and nobody can push me, but I am sure, Faisal, that you and I are very minuscule. Please, I can say I'm a person who loves to take risks, and I don't give a damn to what the other person may be on the other side. It's very easy for you and me to say that. Most of the reporters are not people who are in a position to do that. And yes, again, this comes to grooming, where they are not being told that you can stand up for yourself. We are a very spineless society, and it stems from that fact. Fence-sitters.
Exactly, and that is, again, I will come back to my point about boundaries. We are not, you know, while we are growing up, our parents don't tell us that it's okay to have boundaries, that it's okay to say no. And as far as Faisal's point goes, I believe that also morning show hosts, because having worked in media here in Pakistan and having done morning shows at many channels here, produced them and done, I mean, I did content. Morning show hosts can be very violent, and content sometimes, I mean, it gets out of hand, and it's very difficult to tell them, hello, the audience is women aged between this to this, or, you know, sometimes there are children at home, children who don't go to school, or you know, just teenagers on vacations watching television. And the repeat timing, see, because we tend to take morning shows very callously. We go like, okay, it's safe. This is not politics, so we can watch this as a family. But then there is so much of violence
and aggression.
And aggression, yes.
Maybe we need to play more. Find some channel to take out all the aggression, I guess. There is a lot of latent aggression, and a little bit of aggression is good, I guess. You need to be a little bit aggressive in life, but there has to be good, positive channels for taking it out. Maybe one would know how to deal with one's aggression.
It all finally boils down to one's upbringing, one's grooming, the values and ethics that one is, you know, instilled in.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Agreed.
I can share with you. That is proper. Then you're very much self-aware of who you are and what you're standing against and how you can judge that.
No, but the problem.
I think a lot of people miss.
Lalita, I don't deal with the violence very well. In fact, I find it a problem in me. I cannot read newspapers. I hate the timeline nowadays. I really have a problem dealing with it. It makes me sick. I used to get physically sick earlier. Now so I stopped reading about certain things. So I think that is the problem. Maybe I need to learn to be able to deal with those things.
I don't think so, because I think you have just decided.
Lalit, I have to live in this world. I have to know to be able to cope with people.
No, Gulnaz, hang on. There's one thing to be able to cope, but the fact that it makes you hurt is exactly my point. And Lalita, I think, is agreeing with me. My point is, when we see something like that, whatever the reason we're being forced to see it, I mean, it's TRP, it's media, whatever. But when we see it, when people like you and me should see it, something should hurt in our stomach. We should feel sick. I mean, I have a serious fear of blood in hospitals, and I've never, alhamdulillah, God has been kind, I've never had to see any of that. But just once, after one of the bomb attacks, I decided I want to do a live show, and I went to the site twice. Bomb sites. One of the bomb sites, it was just rubble and sand, so I didn't see anything. But the second one was Ghazi Shah's Mazar. When I went there, this was after they had cleaned up, and I think I went like 2 hours after the incidents when they cleaned the place up, and just the smell as I reached the place, it just turned my stomach. And as I was walking in the area, I was doing a live show, I had a mic in my hand, and and because it was live, I couldn't even take breaks, but I was feeling sick. Not because of the smell, but just seeing blood, shoes, blood on the walls, and narrating it, it was just hurting my soul. There was something getting in my stomach and just squeezing my heart. My problem is with people that, fine, we do what we have to do. If you're a reporter, you do what you have to do. But you should break down. It should bother you. It should hurt your soul. My problem is it doesn't hurt our souls anymore. We become so indifferent to it. That's my problem.
I don't think. I have seen such horror when I was covering from the 90s. I've seen brain splintered. I've got the fresh blood of a dead person has gone in my intestine. I've had to come back and I'm eating a meal, and over that people have asked me, my colleagues, you're telling me it doesn't hurt the soul? It does. But I think the whole idea of professionalism stems from this fact that I am able to control it in front of people. Every Tom, Dick and Harry I don't want to share it with. My sorrow or my hurting of soul, it's not there for public display. So I think and I can't expect that this is my parameter and others have to do that. I can't deal with people breaking down. Or like you said, why it doesn't hurt journalists? It shouldn't, because this is time and again I'm seeing, like Lalita said a while ago, people who you think are sensible, see what they write, this is what they feel. And then they carry their personal biases in their reportage. They shouldn't be doing that. I think these are things that you go back and you have to suffer at your level.
Nita, I think maybe there's a language issue as well. If I was covering an incident in English, I would probably say there has been a bomb attack and so many people have. But in Urdu, we just go like, oh, we just what is that? Why can't we talk like, we can say कि भाई बहुत बुरा हुआ, मैं यहाँ खड़ा हूँ और लोगों की death हो गई है. I mean, I can sound like a human being. I become like, what? Calm down. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm told that I was slow. My bosses told me when I used to talk, I'm talking and I'm saying things on air, they'd say, please sound little hyper, get hysterical. You don't have to talk the way you are, you will have to be
because
faster.
I guess that creates the panic amongst the viewers and the audience. I guess that's the objective they want to achieve, that point.
They want to create
but it gets ridiculous. It gets ridiculous.
I think with the media with the media people, the thing is like with the reporters and all. I remember I went and did a piece that just after the war in Bosnia in the 90s. I went to do a piece there in Bosnia. We took a special plane and went there and did a complete report there. And the only comfort I had was that I was behind the camera and I was looking at it through the eyes of the camera. So you actually, loads of media people, they're either behind the microphone or behind the camera. And I think that is like a guard for them. They actually hide behind that and they do not realize what they're actually doing, because you have to do, it's a job, you have to do it. Somebody has to do it.
No, but the problem here is that, what is your job? Informing people, giving news, or creating hype?
Very well said.
Two different things. I mean, you can give a news very slowly, calmly, but it doesn't mean that if you are in a site of bomb blast, okay, exactly, shout or be excited.
And also a lot of these reporters ask the most insensitive questions to people.
How do you feel? How do you feel? That's the most ridiculous question. आपको कैसा लगता है? नहीं, मैं कूद रहा हूँ.
आपका बेटा मर गया, आपको कैसा लग रहा है?
Yeah, that's like the most stupidest question that the reporter could ask the family. How do you feel?
Actually, oh my God, Ayesha, Ayesha Javeen, you might remember this one. One of the anchors had actually asked a rape victim, "Kya aapko phir kaisa laga?" Do you remember that, Ayesha?
Did she really answer that?
Ayesha Javeen is laughing because I know why she's laughing. Were you there that time?
No, but I heard it through other people and I saw it. And...
You came after that, okay? Because Ayesha Javeen was producing the show later on.
It's just sad. See, masla ye Faisal, I feel that हमारे यहाँ language को इतना seriously नहीं लिया जाता. Even at home, how we talk. एक word के 10 connotations, 10 मतलब हो सकते हैं, root meanings होते हैं. एक चीज को कहने के 10 तरीके हो सकते हैं. There's different ways of saying things that we do not talk about. When we are teaching our kids, when we are bringing them up, we don't talk about these things. As far as pehle jo baat we were talking about ke not every anchor is in a position to bargain and talk. Well, if one says no, the channels will be forced to consider it the next time somebody says no, because they can't afford to lose that person. You must learn to draw boundaries. Boundaries ही नहीं है हमारी society में.
Because
I agree, but
I would disagree with that, because as I was mentioned earlier, this is a question of demand. If one reporter doesn't do it, they will find another person. But at the end of the day, they want to sell the content and they want to make the money, and money is coming from the public. So
but my point is that change has got to come from somewhere, no? Somebody should put their foot down, say no, I refuse to do this. Set an example.
Change is
We must
there.
start from
The conflict here is not that change is not happening. It is our expectation that the change takes place at our pace and time, and that is not happening. So we have to understand, even I used to get frustrated earlier, and yes, maybe my bargaining power is lesser than the others, but I'm happy at the end of the day. My conscience is clear, and I don't think that's the issue. The issue is change takes place, but we are 1 billion people in India and another few millions in Pakistan. With every differing background, you can't expect a homogeneous pattern of change to take place. It will take place, but maybe not in our lifetime.
Oh God, that's a sad
There is a demand for cocaine, right? No, and a lot of people will pay a lot of money to buy it. But there is a law against it. So why isn't there a law against reportage like that?
Oh, damn it. The courts are going to rule all our lives. No. Those judges need to be put in place. They are no less.
I don't think having something legally is necessarily the solution.
It might not be the complete solution, but it is a right step towards that direction.
Yes.
No, but something has to come from within. It cannot be just imposed on people just follow it.
Hi, I think, can I
The
just...
real change...
Sorry, can you hear me?
So
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I was cut off, so I sort of missed about 10 minutes. But I just want to say I agree with both Lalita and Gulnaz, both, because Lalita has a point that it's our ethics and our morals. If there are things we don't like on TV, if there are things that we have objections to, then one, we should complain. If you don't raise your voice, nobody knows about it. So complain, go out there and complain somewhere so that you can make your point.
Can I say something?
Yeah, so sorry, just another thing. But then on the media, look, you have paparazzi here as well. You've got these low type of media. They were following Diana and killed her in a tunnel or whatever. So you'll always have this, but it's up to you to decide what you will watch and complain about it. And then you do need regulation. You need regulation. All things have to fit in. Sorry, go on, Jandar. Sorry.
Yes, actually, you raised 2 points, so I would like to answer that. If you are talking about paparazzi in West, I'm sure that they would have some different channels and different timings for that program. But what we are talking here is this kind of content is being displayed on mainstream channels, on all the channels collectively, okay, regardless of any kind of you call it having different channels or different programs for that. This is the first thing. Second thing, talking about moral, I would disagree a bit. If you go and ask from people in South Asia, everybody would claim that the moral, the values, everything is coming from South Asia. Everybody is having extreme good morals, but collectively they promote to watch these shows. They watch these shows and they don't mind.
No, but I'm sorry, I disagree with you, Jandosh, because morals are intricate to you as a human being. I don't know if you know, in Egypt, molestation of women is the highest on record anywhere in the world. That's supposed to be an Islamic society, blah, blah, blah. They're all covered, most of them. Why are they all being groped and molested and touched? Something's going wrong. So, what's wrong with this? So society collectively has lost their morals. I don't think that's an excuse. I'm sorry. I think morals are up to us to really practice as I wish. We live in all different societies. In the West, you can do whatever. It is up to me to either collectively join in or to decide what my norm is. So I think that's a very independent decision, and we have to make those choices for ourselves. And sorry, another question somebody had about, would women or girls in a group be as violent as boys? So, here you have a concept called laddish behavior. And you have these group of young teenagers who go out drinking like the boys, and then, they are actually as violent and as dangerous to want to be with as men, and they have committed many crimes here as well. So, it's not inherently, it's more normal, but it has been a problem in women as well.
I
Probably
think
women
Sonia,
like.
you raised a very valid point in terms of, if let's say how many of us here in this group itself actually stop watching TV if you see something violent and irrelevant?
I myself.
I definitely
I
do
don't.
that.
I
I
have
don't.
seen TV for nearly a year
So,
now.
I mean,
So
you're actually then
Me
actually
too.
encouraging the channel to do that, right? You're being an
stopped watching
audience
TV.
to, whether you like it or not, you're being an audience to the rubbish that they're showing.
No, I myself, I have stopped watching TV since past, I mean, I don't know years, but I was watching regularly, but since past 3 or 4 months, I completely stopped watching TV. So if I want to see any content, I would go to YouTube and watch it from there, rather than opening the channel and watching it.
So Lalita, point onto your point is that first action, you take action yourself, you stop watching it, but the next point, which is really important, complain about it. If you don't complain, nothing will be done. You have to complain, get other people, so it becomes a bigger issue. One person complaining doesn't make a change. Collectively, we might be able to change things.
I guess more than complaining, we should just watch. We should just stop watching such content so they don't get the ratings, and eventually they will be.
I
don't agree with that.
As much
I
as
don't
hate
see
Lalita,
TV, but I don't agree with
Lalita and I have a complete detest relationship. But one thing I will give to Lalita here is that if she doesn't like something, she'll make sure the world hears it over and over again. And Lalita and I have these fights in the street of Hong Kong.
Well done, Lalita. That's brilliant.
How to
Brilliant, Lalita.
But Lalita just doesn't stop, and at times she's over aggressive, which I hate her for. But the thing is, she lets the world hear it, and I agree with that. That we can't be silent. We can't just say, "Okay, I'm going to switch out," because somebody else is watching it. Somebody who may not have the capability that we do to speak out. So it is our duty, I feel, to speak out and let people hear that this is not on.
Yeah,
this is just not on. And I think today we've mashallah had 10 people. We've had a full house in this hangout, and I think Ayesha would release it. Ayesha Tajwar will release it by tomorrow. So I think this is our effort to create a norm, and create a standard, and to sow that seed in people's minds that you have to start rejecting it, and not just rejecting it out of your lives, but standing up for other people and making sure everyone rejects it. Nita said that we will not see it happen in our lifetimes. I would like to disagree. I mean, I hope that we see it now. I hope we see it very soon. If India can buy a Mercedes and Jaguar and other companies, and Pakistan can adopt other great things, who's doing this? We also have to adopt the good things about the world. Guys, I'm going to take your closing notes. Sylvia, your closing notes?
My closing note is thank you for this. I agree with most things that are said, but I must say that we must all complain. If there's something you are uncomfortable with, if you don't speak out, you won't find other people. It's probably an issue for a lot of people. When we collectively, we are powerful, alone we're not. And number two, it's our morals and ethics to make our decisions, no matter which society we are. Collectively, again, don't be a sheep. Stand up for what you think is ethically right, and then complain. That's all.
Agreed. Nita?
Yes, I think I've agreed to most of the points. It's not the agree or disagree, but the fact is we can't keep expecting the courts to rule our lives, We have to take action. We also have to bring about the change ourselves and stop looking for blaming outside. So, yes, what we do not like, we have to stand up and say, you may be one against the whole world, but that's how the start is. That's how the takeoff has to be. And I think that's very, very important. And we have to be a lot more alert being in the media. If we see such things happening, bring it to the notice, alert the authorities, alert the agencies. And I think that is very important.
Nadeem Ansari Saab?
Yeah, I think I totally agree with Sophia and Nita as well. But just to add to that, we do need to educate the person next to us that this is wrong and you don't need to do that. And that's how it's going to happen, because you do need to change the mindset. Otherwise, it won't change.
Sami, you've been a silent spectator sitting behind Nadeem. Would you like to add something?
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I had internet problems, so I wasn't able to join in, but I've been listening in. And for me, I think, we just quickly, again tended to go into what media is doing. And I think the original topic was, like Jandosh pointed out earlier, sex and violence. And as far as I'm concerned, I think the most important thing is how we bring up our children and how Nadeem said, how we change the mind of the person next to us. Somebody pointed out earlier that I think it was Sylvia that violence has been there throughout. So let's not completely blame it on the media. We are a repressed society in South Asia. Let's remember that as well. And to be able to correct that, we need that media as well. So sometimes outrage of the anchors speaking loudly might be necessary. I'm not saying it's always necessary, but sometimes I think it might be. Just to be able to bring home the point that this was wrong.
Okay, I'm not going to take any names of anchors because, like I said earlier, I'm on thin ice over there. But so you like the bad issue? Larita, your comments?
Yeah, no, I think change essentially begins with each of us, and it is about speaking up. And even, when we interact with friends, social circles, we can influence people with the choices we make and with the decisions that we decide to stick to. And that's how we influence people. I don't think any of us are powerless. We're all powerful in our own way, and we can make it happen. Even a discussion like this, I think, is useful.
Absolutely. Jandos?
What I would say is that, okay, one side we can talk to friends, create influence, but before that, I would like to ask you to think that even yourself, that if you are watching TV, are you really enjoying that show or not? Personally, I stopped watching it not because I am disagreeing with them, but the problem is that, as Faisal was saying, I was feeling disgusting. I was getting headache by watching those news. So I think the first change should come from inside us. Then we can talk to people. Then we can talk to media. Then we can create regulations. But first, yourself.
So you're basically admitting you're beginning to enjoy it, right?
No, I was numb. But then I felt that no, this is something that is hurting me, and it was really hurting me. And then I stopped.
you felt it's taking over you, right? I understand. So now,
I'm against violence in most spheres of life. I'm against jingoism. I'm against any kind of violent language. But at the same time, I enjoy a movie like Kill Bill. So I'm a bit confused there. I'm against all kinds of depravity in real life depravity. But I do enjoy a Jackie Chan movie. So maybe there is a place for aggression, but maybe there is no place for depravity in a normal society.
Very good point, because you know what? Yeah, we like the Bill killer, but we don't like Bill, and so what Bill does is bad, and what's done against him is good. That is a strange balance. Ayesha, Tajwar?
I think we need to know the difference between the good and the bad, and we need to know what is the right and what is wrong, and we need to also, I think Lalita mentioned earlier that it's all about the upbringing, it's all about the mindset that we're surrounded with. So I guess that's what we need to work on, and make use of all the tools that we have to speak up against issues that we think needs to be changed. And I guess that's what we're doing here right now with this Google Hangout.
Ayesha, Jabeen?
I agree with what has been said up till now. I'd just like to add my own little effort that I made. I have a teenage sibling, my little sister, the youngest, and she was growing up because, okay, my dad told me, you don't watch this, that's a bad scene, we don't watch this, change the channel quickly. That's what my parents used to do. I mean, they had been brought up in a certain way, that hush, hush, nobody's talking about things. But when my little sister was growing up, I made sure that she knows this is not for her age. So I feel good now that when she is 16 or 17, she would tell me if I was watching a movie, she would pick it up and she'd look at the rating and she'd be like, no, this is not for me. Baje, Muibai said, or my other brother said, I'm not supposed to watch this. And now when sometimes she's watching something, all of a sudden I go like, hey, Sarah, why are you still watching this? She's like, I'm 18 now. I can watch this. So it's good that she knows as she's growing up what to watch, what not to watch, and when to watch it, and she understands the difference between good and bad.
Yeah.
So I feel good that I've at least educated her about this.
I agree, Alia.
Pretty much I'll agree with what everybody said. I feel that we all have become apathetic, and apathy can be a dangerous thing. So we need to give up our apathy and not watch such things and say something.
I was actually, I had turned away to quickly look at what was Kill Bill's rating. I think it was at least R rating. And I think what Ayesha Jabeen just mentioned, and I think Gulnaz had also mentioned, somebody mentioned that we need to raise better children. I think it's a collection of that. We need to see violence. It's perfectly all right. I think I'm fit to see violence. Gulnaz obviously likes violence. John Dost
No, I don't like violence.
But
I don't like violence.
But it has to be in controlled environments. It has to be who's fit to see it, who's not fit to see it. We all know about cases when Saddam Hussein's hanging was shown, children hung themselves. But
that was really wrong. Do you realize that? How wrong it was?
Yes,
it was very wrong.
I agree. So what I'm saying is, content being shown is okay, but it has to be shown in a controlled environment to control people. Earlier, I had talked about porn, and Nietzsche suddenly came what's wrong with porn. That's another topic. Nietzsche will take it on. But again, porn gets rating. It's like a XXX rating, or the single X rating. You have to.
Faisal, just a quick difference. Kill Bill, I've seen Kill Bill 1 and Kill Bill 2 and I enjoyed them, I have to confess. So I think but that's a movie, I'm sorry. But hey, it was rated. I knew the rating, I knew what to expect. Real life hanging, that is wrong.
Absolutely. The only thing I invoked an example is that media, what you show in media, has an impact and effect on absorbing minds. I mean, I think if I see what was that movie? That the girl in the well. The movie got really popular. The Ring. I think The Ring won. Disturbed me tremendously. Right. It actually disturbed me.
That was very nice.
Actually, can I add something there? I enjoyed Kill Bill 1, Kill Bill 2, but I saw the latest Tarantino movie, which I actually walked out of because I think he has just taken violence in extreme form there.
Which one is this?
Which one?
The Django.
Django Unchained.
Django Unchained.
He's taken violence in extreme form there.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that because I'll have to. I wanted to see it, but maybe I'll think twice.
No, it's not violence, but...
You noticed all the women liked Kill Bill here? Did you notice that?
I did. I did.
But I think she was brilliant.
You see, in these movies, I'd just like to add, I mean, Tarantino, he does these kind of movies. Violence is also used as an art form. But if you look at Taxi Driver, and you have the same, in the end, you have the same blood spurting out like crazy. So this has always been there, and we need to filter out stuff, and we need to educate people around us. Okay, this is for your age, this is for your age. We need to have boundaries.
I think that is a clear take from this discussion that in India and Pakistan, every content needs to start getting rating, and news, which is a 24-hour show, needs to control what it shows. And if they're going to show graphic content, they have to forewarn, even if there's a severe live, real-time bomb attack, it has to be controlled content. They cannot create, a frenzy or. There's one channel in Pakistan I must mention here. Their story Homo, which runs periodically, has big news in a bomb attack. And all the times my dad has seen it, I said, "Oh my God, let's go."
I can't hear you.
We can't hear you.
Now can you hear me? Someone's mic creates it. Anyway, there's a channel, news channel, whose promo has a breaking news of a bomb attack, and thus every time that promo runs, we go like, oh, there's been a bomb attack. So that is really unfair.
It's horrible. It's really horrible.
Also, I think there is another problem, at least in Pakistan, I've observed. My parents would always keep telling me, say 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, all right, it's time for you to go to bed, all right, it's time for you to go to bed, but they won't put me to bed. They won't force me because they love me so much. And if I want to cuddle up and see all the current affairs show that they're watching, so they love me so much, they won't throw me out of the room. Children need to go to bed. There is something wrong with this society. We need to have timings. We need to tell people this is what you need to do. This is what you need to do. And I mean, that's all I have to just say that.
So I guess we can conclude that we are closet psychopaths, right?
Insomniacs and psychopaths.
Mita kind of agrees with me.
Yeah, we are all going to come with swords and guns. Just watch it. And we might just be Faisal's angels, but we might turn around and kill Faisal.
Lalita will.
Faisal, perhaps.
She will kill me.
You said that, I didn't.
You know it. I said it, but you know it, Lalita.
Well, let's say no to killing here.
You've become a mind reader now? Not bad.
I've known you 10 years. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if there's nothing else to add, we should conclude today because we've done almost, 90 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Good night. Sleep well.
Good night.
Bye. Some nice green colored nail polish.